Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. I am Brad. Today we are covering a bunch of trades, a bunch of news. So we're going to be breaking this up into a couple episodes. We're currently going to be knocking out the Oilers trade for Trent Frederic from the Boston Bruins with a third team in there, the New Jersey Devils. So we'll be hitting this trade mostly and a couple of signings and everything. And then I'm going to post another podcast with the other ones as well. But for this case right now, I want to just cover this trade because it's a pretty big trade. It's a lot of moving pieces, and I want to just break it down. So let's start with what the trade is. And if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe, rate the podcast. It really helps out small creators like me, as well as tweet at me because how I can improve and everything. Because it's just always nice to know, like a little bit of feedback, I like to hear that. So let's talk about this Oilers trade or Trent Frederic. Okay. So they get, Oilers are getting the biggest piece out of this. They're getting a Trent Frederic who was retained 50% of his salary was retained by Boston, and another 25% was retained by New Jersey Devils. The Oilers also add Max Jones into their depth and the rights to Peter Hauser. In exchange, Devils are getting the rights to Shane LaChance, and then the Boston Bruins are getting Max Wayner, a 2025 second-round pick, which was originally St. Louis's pick from the Broberg deal, by the way. That was the pick that the Oilers got from St. Louis for not qualifying the offer sheet from the St. Louis Blues, and a 2026 fourth-round pick from Edmonton. So let's break this down. Let's start with the smaller parts because I think it's going to be a little bit easier. So I want to talk about the New Jersey Devils side because this would be pretty easy to knock out. So originally, Peter Hauser was a prospect of the New Jersey Devils. So you get a Peter Hauser for Trent Frederic trade. Okay, so at this point, the Boston Bruins are sending over the Trent Frederic to the New Jersey Devils so that they can hold on to half of his salary. Mind you, Trent Frederic is making $2.3 million a year. So Boston's going to retain $1.15 million of that. So they're doing half right there. Okay. So basically Boston's like, here, take the player. We'll cover half his salary. We're taking Peter Hauser back. Real quick. Peter Hauser, by the way, is a Czech. He's playing currently in the Czech league. He has 17 games. He has 4 points, 4 penalty minutes. He's a right shot, 6'4", 207-pound, fifth-round draft pick from 2022. So he's a big guy, not a huge point producer, but again, he's young. They bring him into the Providence Bruins, and then he ends up thriving there. So that's what the Boston Bruins are getting in this case. So moving on to the next portion of the trade. Okay, so we talked about this with Trent Frederic again, and now at this point we go to the Edmonton Oilers and so there's basically 3 trades. It's a 3-team trade, but you have to do these to move all these parts in a certain way. So the New Jersey Devils are holding on to Trent Frederic the rest of his half of his salary. So they were holding $1.15 million. Now they're holding half of it, and they're sending it to the Edmonton Oilers. And what are they getting in return for holding that half, which is only about $575,000? They're getting Shane LaChance. So what I've heard is Shane LaChance's dad is in the development, or he's in the organization of the New Jersey Devils. So he's also from Boston. So he's from that area. New Jersey Devils is close to Boston and everything. And so Shane LaChance is getting acquired to go over to the New Jersey Devils. And actually, supposedly, he's got a really good. I'll show you his. He's a 6th-round pick from 2021, and so he's got a great point total. He's playing on a good Boston team, Boston University, NCAA. 25 points in 32 games. He's got 10 points, 10 goals, 15 assists. He's got 26 penalty minutes as well. So he's having a great year. He's about to beat his total from last year. He had 27 points in 40 games with Boston last year. Again, he's young too, right? He's only 21 years old. He's 6'5", 218 pounds. That's a huge man. And so, I mean, I think that's a great prospect for the New Jersey Devils because they have such a young team. So I'm a big fan of that as well. So you get Shane LaChance. So now moving over to, again, now Oilers are now getting Trent Frederic in this case, right? So for the compensation for that, what do the Boston Bruins get out of this, right? Because they're sending out the biggest asset, right? So they're also, Boston has to trade someone, right? So they're trading out Max Jones, who has played 7 games with the Boston Bruins this year. He's 27 years old, left winger. He's 6'3", he makes about $1 million. He's a former first-round pick, 24th overall from the Anaheim Ducks. And last year, the Anaheim Ducks, last year, 23-24, he had 15 points in 52 games. So, again, not a huge point producer in this case, just some depth for the Edmonton Oilers. And now, again, just in 7 games this year with the Boston Bruins, 0 points. He mostly played in the AHL. with the Providence Bruins, 21 points in 38 games, 13 goals, 8 assists. So he's going to put some goals up in the AHL. So a little bit of depth for the Edmonton Oilers. So I love that for them as well. So moving on to so they'll get Max Jones, and then again they're getting Peter Hauser as well. Again, that's now Boston's trading Peter Hauser over to the Edmonton Oilers. So again, what is Boston getting this? They're getting Max Wayner. Max Wayner is a 21-year-old D. He's on the he's got 1 more year left on his contract. It looks like he has not played in the NHL. He's a 6'3", 185-pound right-handed shot D. He's a 7th-round pick. Man, that's crazy. From 2021, a 7th-round pick from 2021. I love when you see 7th-round guys just traded. It's phenomenal. Currently looks like it wasn't working out that well with the Bakersfield Condors. 2 points in only 22 games. So just not really working out in that case, which is kind of a bummer for those guys. Again, you want to see those guys thrive. But they got him for they got him for 1 more year after this. So hopefully with the Providence Bruins, he can thrive down there. They're also getting a 2nd-round pick. Again, that was a 2nd-round pick from the Broberg offer sheet and everything, and then an additional 4th-round pick in this. So I think I'm surprised. I honestly thought I knew they would get at least a 2nd-round pick. The Boston Bruins would. I thought they would get maybe a little bit more, but I guess a 2nd or 4th-round pick and a prospect is not too bad. Again, a big guy that's he's a big dude. Again, the thing is your 6'3" is the big right-handed defenseman. And again, there's always a need for right-handed defensemen in the NHL. So definitely not mad about that at all. But I think this is like a good, solid trade. I think Edmonton's definitely in their lineup. They're definitely getting. If we actually let's go to their page. I'm going to check out their depth and everything too, because mind you, now they still have $4.4 million in cap space as well, as you can see on Puckpedia. I'm using Puckpedia, by the way. It's a phenomenal website if you're not using. They still have moves to make. I think they should try and move off of Arvidsson. I think it's not working out really well, right? And so we go. Oh, I took my glasses off, and that was a mistake. And so again, your top line's looking great. Nugent Hopkins, Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman. Not mad about that at all. You have on their second line. Looks like they're running Coles on the left side with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. And I just don't think that's the move. I think they got to get some second line scoring there. I think that would be a place that I would definitely get some upgrade on that winger depth for the second line. And then they also picked now we go to the defenseman. I mean, defense is not really changing again. They have Max Jones. Oh yeah, and then Trent Frederic is also out, right? So that's going to be some of your second line depth there as well. So I think this is going to be a good move. It's an easy move, especially if they can re-sign it. And this is a smart move so it's the easy move for the very, very low expense, I'd say, for the Oilers. I mean, mind you, we still have massive trade with the Tampa Lightning sending out 2 first-round picks. We'll talk about that in another podcast. Check that out, please. Check that out as well. But to me, I mean, you need to go upgrade in the winger, and Trent Frederic's not going to be. He's just started skating, and he's actually injured right now, so he's not going to be on the team either. So you got to consider they'll have an opportunity to try and work this guy out. He had 15 points in 57 games, kind of a down year from his last year. Only playing 13 and a half minutes, but I think Trent Frederic this is a good way to see if he works out with the team. If he does, awesome. I think this is a great pickup for the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, he's 27 years old, so he's in that Connor McDavid age as well. So I mean, why wouldn't you try and get a guy that's can play with Connor McDavid's team, right? And thrive in this case. And again, smart for the Bruins. They were not going to re-sign him. Supposedly there was quite a bit of interest in him. Again, they got a good little bit for him. So, I mean, I'm not too mad about the Boston Bruins and what they did with this one and everything. So, we're going to move on to the next part. So, going into a little bit of NHL news, I want to talk about how Charlie Lindgren signed a new contract. He signed a 3-year deal at $9 million annual contract. I mean, this is phenomenal. When you look at what Washington has done with their goaltending, it's crazy how much that they have just done a monster. They're leading the Eastern Conference. They're second in the league. And we're like, they're trying to do this retool and everything. It's like they trade for Pierre Dubois. You're like, what's happening? They picked up Brandon Duhaime, they traded for Lars Eller, right? They traded a 2nd-round pick for Andre Mangiapane. They signed Taylor Radish. There's a lot of little things here and there they did. They traded for Jacob Chikrin as well. And they get these 2 goalies. Mind you, they get Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson. Charlie Lindgren they signed. It was a couple of years ago when he left St. Louis. And then Logan Thompson, they traded for in the offseason for 2 third-round picks. And now you're looking at two very good goaltenders. Charlie Lindgren struggling a little bit more than Logan Thompson. But Logan Thompson with a 9.18 save percentage and a 3.2 goals saved above expected, or goals against average. And he's only making $760,000, which is crazy that Logan Thompson is just making that little bit amount. Now Charlie Lindgren getting that upgrade and everything for $3 million. Logan Thompson, I don't believe has a new contract yet. But to me, like that's a huge. Oh no, he does. Yep, Logan Thompson has a new contract. He signed a 6-year deal at $8.5 million, a huge upgrade going from $750,000 to $880,000. That's amazing for 6 years. I mean, they got this tandem that is right currently making around $180,000 or $1.8 million for this goalie tandem. It will be a lot more expensive next year, but for $8.8 million for a goalie tandem for the next 3 years, that's actually not too bad at all. I mean, when you consider that 8.8 is about what Jeremy Swayman's making. He's making $8.5 million a year. Linus Ullmark, $8.5 million a year. Or 8.2, I think it's 8.5 or 8.25. And then same with Ottinger, making around the same as that in the Dallas Stars for the next 4 years. So when you consider that some places are relying just on one goaltender, Washington says, hey, we're going to rely on 2. And these guys are going to be a great tandem. And that's really where a lot of the market's going. You have some high-end goaltenders that are just elite. You have your Shesterkins, you have your Hellebucks, you have your Ottingers, your Bobrovsky, your Vasilevsky that you can run into the ground. But this is very normal because there's only about 5 of these guys in the league that you're going to have just the starting goaltender. A lot of them are running tandems. We're seeing that in Detroit with Lyon and Talbot. We see that, well, Dostal's starting to take it over, but in Anaheim, you have Dostal and Gibson, right? And usually one guy ends up emerging a little bit better, but the goal is that year after year, you want that tandem and everything because there's no goalies that are playing 82 games anymore. Heck, it's rare to see them play 60 games, right? Connor Hellebuck is one of those, freaks in nature that does that type of thing. So you have Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky, but just to give you an idea, tandems are very common, and I have to only pay $8.8 million, especially for the next 3 years. I mean, as the cap's going to be skyrocketing, it's huge for the Washington Capitals. Love that for them, absolutely. So we also had Tristan Jarry's coming up from the AHL. They send the Pittsburgh Penguins send down Joel Blomqvist back down to the AHL. He's performed well. He's a young kid, he's still learning everything. And Joe Blomqvist really got his feet wet up in the NHL with 15 games, 3 point. Again, he was playing some good games, and then he started to dip. He had a 3.81 goals against average and an 885 save percentage. So it started to dip off, understandably. He's a young goaltender. The guy's like 23. Like, he's 23. Like, most goaltenders don't get really good until they're like 26, 27, like in their late 20s. That's when you start to see guys really pop off. And honestly, goaltenders start to age better as you get older, right? In their, like, even like you get 30s and 31, 32, you're like, man, he's like still playing really well. Red Wings are seeing that with Cam Talbot. He's playing at like 35 years old. He's something crazy like that. It's and he's playing at phenomenal numbers, considering that you're like, oh man, like Talbot's like he's old, like he shouldn't be playing this well, and he's absolutely just killing it. We're seeing that with Bobrovsky. He's got a new contract next year. He'll need a new contract next year, which is one of the reasons for is going all in on it. I mean, Talbot's 36 and a half. He's got a 902 save percentage. I mean, that's pretty good. It's above average. It's above goaltender average in the NHL. So not too shabby at all. So we're moving on to the next piece. We got Olli Maatta, who was traded to he got an extension with the Utah Hockey Club. He was originally with the Detroit Red Wings this year. There's a little bit of crowding on the left side of the Detroit Red Wings. So you had like Sherratt, Edvinson, you had Johansson at the start, and you had Gustafsson. So they had they're running eight defensemen. They're like, hey, we have to move someone. Olli Maatta was the one with the least protection, and it was the most desirable. So with Sean Dursey and John Marino going down for the Utah Hockey Club at the start of the season, they trade a 3rd-round pick for Olli Maatta, who seems to be working out really well with them. Currently in 58 games so far this year, he has 14 points. He's not a huge point getter. He's a great defenseman, though, and he seems to be really working out with that system. He's 30 years old, right? But he gets a 3-year contract at $3.5 million per year. So, awesome. That's a great little bit. Love to see that I love that he got another job because I think he is a great defenseman. I was actually really bummed when the Detroit Red Wings traded him. But it's one of those things where you're like, okay, well, you can't, like, like you had to make room for the young guys, right? In the sense of Edmonton and Johansson now on the right side, but you had to make room for it. And if you can get an asset for him instead of just like dropping him like the Jake Wallman trade, still mad about that. Then yeah, if you can get something for him, that's phenomenal. So it was good work by Eisman. It was great for the Utah Club. It ended up being a good winner. So the Stadium Series against the Detroit Red Wings and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And again, I'm a Red Wings fan, but I want to hit on this as well. It was the most viewed regular season on ESPN network since they reacquired the NHL rights in 2021. Is the most stadium series viewed stadium series on cable ever, and the most on all platforms since 2019. They had 1.6 viewers, and they had one on average, and they had a 1.8 at one point. It was 16% higher than last year's two stadium series games. Again, this is a great win for the NHL. You're seeing that they're starting to make these big changes and everything, and they're starting to market themselves. I think being on ESPN is a huge win for the NHL. And I absolutely think this is a win, like for a smaller team in the Columbus, and it was a game that actually mattered. I would say that's the big important thing, is because Red Wings and Columbus are also fighting for the same playoff spots in the Eastern Conference, both fighting for those wild card spots. Currently, Red Wings are currently out of it, with the Rangers and the Columbus taking over that. But again, there's still a fight. There's still an opportunity for them to get back. And the East is crazy this year, so it's great to see them fighting for that. So we are going to take a quick break, and we'll jump back into the next bit of news right after this. You know, it might not feel like it, but spring is right around the corner. You know how you can tell? Golfers are hitting the links, and we have some tournaments to talk about. And if you want to do more than just talk, put your money where your mouth is. Get in on all the tee to green action with DraftKings Sportsbook. From Thursday's opening round through the closing round Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with tournament props, live betting, odds boost, and so much more. And if you've never bet on golf before, it's easier than you think. Just pick up something simple like a golfer to win the tourney and make your pick. It's just that easy. Now we got some tournaments coming up. We got the Puerto Rico Open, the Players Championship, the Valspar Championship, the Texas Children's Houston Open. Maybe you can bet for Stefan Jaeger to win. Maybe a little Scotty Scheffler or a little Bryce Garnett. You know, whatever it is, you can get in on the action. And here's something special for first timers. New to DraftKings customers, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit cpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boo Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. And we are back. So we got a couple new signings today as well. So we have Jake Evans, one of the most highly sought after centers in the league. He's a young center, 20. Well, relative, not young, but he is 28 years old, 6 foot. Was a center that a lot of people were looking for. To acquire for the trade deadline and everything. I feel like I was Megan the Stallion right there. 28 points in 61 games. I mean, that's a good amount of production, a little under half point per game. Who's currently was making $1.7 million a year. Now has a 4-year deal at $2.85 million. In my opinion, I think that's a bit of a haircut. Mind you, he is 28 already. So at this point, but I think for a 7th rounder, he's done a really good job in that third line center. A good production and everything. And one thing that he did talk about as well with the extension and why he did it for so long and everything. I'm surprised he wouldn't even go with like a little bit shorter deal, maybe like a year or two. And that way he would kind of get the better deal afterwards. One thing he talked about wanting to stay with the Canadiens is that he likes what Kent Hughes is doing. He likes the direction they're going and everything. So I think it's phenomenal for him. I think it's a good little pickup for a good little stability for the Montreal Canadiens. And again, I mean, this is also a tradable contract too, right? If we're looking at this, he pull up the full. He doesn't have no trade protection at all. So honestly, so he could actually just decide, hey, I don't want to. Let me see. Yeah, so he's good. He has no trade protection. So this contract is front loaded. Looks like most of the salary is in the front of the contract. So as he gets older, it may be more of a tradable asset for the Montreal Canadiens, which is smart for them. Again, no protection. The reason he does no protection is because you can make more money that way, right? We have no protection, and the guy they want to move you. They want to be able to move you without having to think about it. So pay a little more to not protect you. So I think that was smart for Montreal Canadiens as a team. And Jake Evans, hey, got your bag, man. I absolutely all about millionaires taking money from billionaires, man. Like I said, I'm okay with that. So move on to the Florida Panthers. A guy that they picked up in the offseason was Jesper Boqvist. He's currently on a 1-year deal. They signed him for a league man. The Florida Panthers. He's a 26-year-old former second-round draft pick for the New Jersey Devils. It was a high one. It was a 36 overall in 2017. Currently with the Florida Panthers, doing well in on a third line role on a winger. He's got 22 points in 59 games, but about 4 points every 10 games approximately. But he's really fit in well with this Florida team, and they seem to really like him. They gave him a 2-year deal at $1.5 million per year, a good little bit. And again, that's a nice, cheap, easy contract for your depth. And Florida, mind you, this is a team that's rolling through people, right? And they find a guy that fits in the culture and that fits with the team and produces well. They keep him, and I think this is going to work out really well for them. This is interesting, though. I mean, this is more of a depth role, right? But this is where I'm curious on the Sam Bennett aspect as well. I'm like, okay, what's the question with the Sam Bennett? Are they going to keep him? Are they going to trade him? I think they're going to keep him through this deadline and look at it later. But I think Bennett's one of those guys that I don't know if they're going to keep. Mind you, he's a second-line center right now for them. But do they want to upgrade that, right? Is Anton Lundell going to be the next guy that pushes Sam Bennett down? Because Anton Lundell is 22 years old. He's on a 6-year contract, right? So do you give the 27, almost 28-year-old Sam Bennett a big contract? He's making $4.4 million. He's probably going to want 6.5 to 7. If he wants an 8-year contract, he's probably going to want even more. So is that something that Florida's willing to do for a guy who's putting up a similar production to Anton Lundell? So those are the questions you have to ask when you're the Florida Panthers. Do they try and upgrade at the center position? Maybe. I mean, Sam Bennett is a pretty good productive one, and mind you, they have $5 million available, especially with in cap space because of the LTIR for Matt Tkachuk. And we know I'm almost guaranteed he's going to come back for playoffs. He's out for the regular season, similar to Jack Hughes. He's out for the regular season. So how can they weaponize that $5.3 million to bring in a center? I'd be really curious on that. I wonder if there's it's one of those. This is a trade. This is a total hypothetical. What about a Casey Middlestad trade? Right, bring him over. I know he's not thriving with the Colorado Avalanche, but let me look up out of curiosity. This is off the rip. Just doing with the Casey Middlestad. Again, I know he's not working out that well, but so they have $5.3 million cap space. You have Casey Middlestad making 5.75. So he's got 34 points, 62 games. Maybe that's a guy that you can bring in. I don't know. You don't trade out of Sam Bennett or Anton Lundell for that, but I think there could be something there just because also you're crossing conferences too, right? So you don't have to worry. If you meet him, it'd be in the Stanley Cup Finals, right? But I don't think there's nothing too crazy there. Again, I think Florida doesn't want to take those small moves. I think they want to go big, similar with the Seth Jones trade. I think it's a huge, big trade. I mean, good for them. So, we also saw that the Logan Brown was signed to a 1-year deal, and then he was put on the waiver. He was put on waivers as well. So, that's he was just set on waivers. So he was just put on waivers. So it's nothing crazy there. We also saw a trade with the San Jose Sharks. Vitek Vanecek being traded to. Let me pull it up. I just had it. Vanecek to the Florida Panthers. That's what it was. Like, why couldn't I think of it? Florida Panthers. And then honestly, to me, this was a steal for the Florida Panthers. They traded a guy named Patrick Giles. They literally signed a guy that they was in their AHL playing with them. He had 9 goals. He had 9 games played ever. He's 25 years old. In the AHL, I don't think he's originally undrafted. Again, he had played 9 games this year. He had 0 points. Down in the AHL, he has 7 points in 39 games. He puts up a ton of PIMs though, 39 PIMs, penalty minutes. So I mean, that was the San Jose basically gave Vanecek away, which I think it's kind of silly. It was pretty silly to me. He's played 18 games with the Sharks this year. was not playing that great. But again, this is the nice thing is that you're freeing up a spot for Askarov for the San Jose Sharks. So, and they're not having to retain. Well, San Jose couldn't retain because they don't have any spots left. So, so you get Vitek. Florida gets Vitek Vanecek, which is to replace the Spencer Knight trade. That brought Seth Jones over. So to me, they take on this full cap hit as well of the $3.4 million for the rest of the year. Again, he's a backup. He's just to hold you over. Grubauer was not working out as a backup, so he's just one of those where you're like, hey, you have a guy now. At least you have an NHL goalie, especially Grubauer, who has not played any games. I think he's maybe played one game at this point in the with the team this year. I don't even think he has played a game yet with the Florida Panthers. I think he's just been not Grubauer, yeah. Drieger. Sorry, Drieger. He has not played any games with the Florida Panthers. He's just here, right? So, which is kind of crazy. So, anyways, we're gonna be covering some of the other big trades and a couple other things that are be happening. There's a big trade with the Tampa Bay Lightning that we'll cover in our next podcast, which I'll be releasing right after this one. So stay tuned. Check it out. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.